Hello there, and good morning, and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. Today we're doing a look back album, and I like to go with a theme. So I have my New York shirt here and my Tampa Bay hat, and we'll be doing this album, Boston's debut album. Um, what can be said that hasn't been said about this album already? It's maybe the biggest debut album of any group ever. Certainly sold quite a few copies, like 17 million. That's pretty substantial. Um, the album, of course, was pretty much the brainchild of Tom Scholz. Played mostly everything on it, and except for the drums and the vocals. And he did all this in his own basement of his home in Massachusetts. Unbelievable, eh? If you listen to the sound on this, it's amazing. And of course, it was a bit of a kind of a Kiss thing here, where misdirection was a lot. In the case here, he wanted to record in his own studio, and the record label wanted him to record in Los Angeles, so he basically deceived them and produced it in his own studio anyways. This features Brad Depth on all the vocals on here, both background and lead vocals. Tom Scholz, of course, played almost all the instrumentation on the album: bass, guitar, keyboards, all that stuff. There was also two drummers, although Sib Hashin was the main drummer and played almost every track. Jim Mesdia did play drums on one track, and I believe that was Rock and Roll. Let me just see here. Yeah, Rock and Roll Band. I think that was the one he played the drums on. And then there was Barry Goudreau also played some rhythm guitar on some of the tracks as well. But primarily, this was a Tom Scholz brainchild. And then, of course, when they had to go on tour, they had to put a band together that didn't exist, so that's what they did. Anyways, the studio, of course, was Hideaway Studios 2. I think that's probably where it was remastered. And John Bolan and Tom Scholz produced the album. John Bolan basically ran interference with the record label, pretty much, I think, based on what I've read and stuff. And it was released in August of 1976. So, fantastic album. There's not much more you can say about this album that hasn't been said, but, is it one of my favorite albums? I wouldn't say it's a top 50 album for me. It might be. But it's still a rarely good album, and you know what? It has so many tracks on it that have gotten so much airplay. I mean, you got to do this album. It's just, if for nothing other than the cover of it is fantastic, right? So just a little bit about the songs. Of course, Everybody Knows More Than a Feeling. It's probably been played more than any other Boston song, and is a classic, stable rock song. And you know what? I still kind of like it quite a bit, even though it's probably been overplayed over the years. Peace of Mind, another good track that's got a lot of airplay. I like that quite a bit as well, and again, it hasn't really burned out. The Foreplay, Long Time. Yeah, this was probably the track I liked the most initially, after More Than a Feeling, and I still dig it quite a bit. Rock and Roll Band was a track that I didn't really care much for, but I don't dislike it either. And then, of course, Smokin', which is a track that came much later for me, because I basically stayed on the first side for a while. But this song is a killer song, and maybe the best, or one of the best tracks on the album. Hitch a Ride, I really like this song quite a bit. It's moved up. It's probably next to More Than a Feeling, my favorite track on the album. Something About You and Let Me Take You Home Tonight. The last Something About You I like, but the last track, Take Me Home Tonight, a song that I think Has gotten fair bit of airplay, but it's deserving. It's a great, and you know, like all of the songs on here have that Boston sound, that guitar sound that Schultz has made like famous. Even the back of the album is really quite good, you know. And then you know, with this particular album, you also get this book with a cover on it, them in the recording studio. Lots of interesting storylines about how this album came about, and it's not your typical rock band history, you know, where a bunch of guys get together and start touring around and putting music out there, and you know, eventually get noticed by a label, and then that label helps them release an album that puts them on the map. This was a complete different story. And this one guy put this together and, you know, produced this whole thing, and you know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Anyways, that's it for today's look back. The Boston debut album, great album. It's too bad they weren't able to get stuff ironed out so they could produce more like this. It steadily went down from here, but you know, nothing to take away from this album, that's for certain. Anyways, that's my look back for today. If you like the video, please subscribe. Please like, and if you want me to do more content, subscribe. I would be more than willing to do that. I love to do this. And then, of course, we have coming up, probably tomorrow, will be my top 10 of the rock band Styx. One of my favorite bands of all time, definitely in my group of 7. And I look forward to presenting that to you. And my name is Murph, and I'm signing out now for Prog Monster. You have a good day.